Greetings and salutations, fine viewer. My name is Hamilberg and welcome to my Let's Play channel. This is going to be a new one for me. This is a game that I have wanted to do since it was one of the games that I wanted to do when I started the my Let's Play channel. This is Endless Legend. It is a indie 4X game. It came out at approximately the same time as Civilization Beyond Earth. And it is no longer new at this point. I picked it up on deep sale at the Christmas 2014 Steam sale, but it's still really good. It captures much of the essence of 4X games, while also putting I'm not going to call it a role-playing game element into it. It's not nearly so developed as that, but there's a lot of personality to the different factions, which is missing in many role-playing or many 4X games. And that's why I sort of think of it as a role-playing game, along with the fantasy-esque genre. It is set in the Endless setting, along with games like Endless Space and Dungeon of the Endless, and I think there might be a few others that I haven't played. So, we'll be starting a new game. There are many factions here. And one of the most attractive things about this game is because the factions play so differently, starting with a new one is going to be almost kind of its own, a very different game from the previous one. I've played through once already as the Wild Walkers, and they were entertaining, a fairly aggressive faction, and I'd like to try one of the ones and see how they're different. I've tinkered a little bit with them, but not committed to a full game. So I think I want to try the Ardent Mages. These are, as you can read here, primary power of these sorcerers comes from their anger. Having survived a long history of slaughter and starvation, the powers that they discovered and that permitted them to survive were those based on dust, magic, agony, and rage. And they come with a large number of unique abilities. Each faction has unique units associated with them. So for this faction, it is the Warlock, their basic infantry unit, which uses magical attacks. They have extremely low defense, but very high attack. So they're pretty fragile, but they do hit hard. The Zealot, which is a ranged unit, again, very low defense, decent attack, and they have the advantage of the Fire Rain perk. I can't manage to mouse over on a mouse over, but it gives them AoE damage on their ranged attack, as well as slowing down enemies hit by it. So that's a pretty attractive combination. And then the Inika wing, which I have not gotten to play with at all, but seems nifty, a sort of magical phoenix-like creature with the revive ability. In addition, they have these Arcana as their sort of one of their faction unique abilities. This allows them to essentially cast spells on the overworld map that provide benefits there for a number of turns. I think it's around 10. And then this also gives them incantations during some combats. I don't know exactly what the mechanism for that is, but it'd be interesting to find out. I think maybe it's if you fight within range of the pillars. So we'll play as them. We're playing on hard difficulty. I played it to normal on my last one, so I figure I should step it up another level and play on hard. Other than that, we're going to leave it on the default settings. I see no particular desire to tinker with these. As mages, these are going to be a very technologically focused faction, but we should go ahead and start this so that we can look at get the basic introduction done.
They are weak, they are soft, they writhe in supposed discomfort at minor penances that the faithful would not even notice. Their sloth will be their undoing. Without the pain, they cannot touch the power. Use your eyes, or I will remove them in atonement. See that Auriga herself rise in anguish, as we all should. Join me in contrition and mortification, such as Auriga has never seen. Together, we will embrace the agony and make it our servant.
And there's our introduction to the faction. So, and there's a Draken faction. These are pop-ups that come up when we are introduced to another faction. One of the Draken abilities is that they start with contact with all factions. Conversely, we also have contact with them. Okay, and here is our map. So a hex-based system, much like many 4X games. And you can see there's a bunch of resources on here. So we have things like a titanium deposit, moss pearls. These are temples. We explore them, much like you might have had in a game like... it's not really like Master of Magic. I guess they're essentially the barbarian huts from a Civilization game, reskinned. Each faction has a unique quest that they undertake as part of the story setting, and the temples are usually involved in that. If we scan out, it switches to a sort of paper style map, and we can only see what we're looking at nearby. Unlike many Civilization style games, there are predetermined regions, and each region can only have a single city in it. So it's up to us to figure out where the best place to put a city is. And there we go. Okay, so this is the map that shows us where's good to drop a city. Primarily, we're going to be looking for things with very high resource amounts close by. And I'll explain a little bit more how the city system works in just a minute. I would like to do just a little bit of scouting, so we are going to split out the settler and move them separately, and then take the rest of the stack and at least poke our noses down here to see if there's anything nearby. So for a starting city, we are a research-based faction. We will benefit a lot from having access to good research tiles. This area right here looks particularly attractive. We get to pick up this tile, which has some benefits on it from the moss pearls. Additional research primarily, as well as extra food. The food will help us grow faster. We'll then be able to expand this way, pick up this tile. We're going to be a little light on food in general, but there's not really any place nearby visible that we can fix that issue. The tile that we place our initial city on will lose its food benefit, so I'm inclined to drop our first city on this forest tile, because that will then create, that will lose us the least amount of food. I don't think that there exist tile upgrades like there are in Civilization, so we don't really need to concern ourselves with that. So we're going to take our settler and click the Found City button. And you can see that it's displaying the tiles that our city will be harvesting directly. So the tile that we're on and all ones adjacent to it, and displaying the total output we will receive from that. I can throw this around and we're seeing, you can see that there's dramatically less food output pretty much anywhere else. Even down here, can we get it's not gonna, there we go. So 7, 8, we get 12 here because it's very similar to this tile. But we get to pick up the extra research tile here, so we're going to go with this one. And then the settlers move and found our city. And so this is our city, and you can see what it's harvesting. Now, unlike Civilization, you do not place workers directly onto this map to determine which tiles you harvest. Instead, you automatically harvest all tiles within 1 square of a city. And then as your city grows and increases in population, you are allowed to expand the city directly on the map. That then opens up new tiles for harvesting, as well as giving you additional population to work with. The population is then assigned much like specialists in Civilization, and you assign it directly into harvesting some given resource. For now, I think that we already have strong food production here, and I don't think we gain a lot of marginal gain out of increasing that. However, increasing our industry is going to almost double the total, and some initial fast industry I think will benefit us greatly. I'm going to start with the Founders Memorial. I'm pretty sure you always do this because it gives you some initial resources: food, industry, science, gold, and influence. The influence is a special resource that's used for certain empire level actions, assimilating minor factions as well as diplomatic actions. The Founders Memorial is good for us because this is going to increase our increase the influence production of our city, double it. We will go from 1 to 2, and that's pretty sure you'll just always start by building this one. We've already moved our army for the turn. Minor factions. So this is one of the things introduced on this. Civilization 5 had the minor cities. I forget exactly what they're called. And Civilization Beyond Earth had them as well. This is I think a far more flavorful version of them. On the map there will be cities. So this one up here that is belongs to another race. And then we can interact with this. We can interact with it hostilely by razing it to the ground, or peaceably by attempting to buy their loyalty, or by completing a quest for them. If we do that, we then pacify them, at which point they become, if they're in our territory, meaning in the zone of a city that we control, they then provide population to that city, as well as while they are not pacified, they will continually spawn units that will then maraud around the map. In order to turn off these marauders, we have to pacify them. In addition, after we have pacified them, if they are within our sphere of influence, we have the ability to assimilate them. If we assimilate them, we gain the ability, we can then produce their unique unit. For example, if we assimilate the Kazanji, then we can produce this demon. And it has abilities associated with it. We also, when we assimilate them, gain access to a faction-wide benefit based upon the number of pacified villages that we have assimilated. So 5% increased influence production per pacified village. Okay. We have not yet met the faction of the... Ooh, that's going to make for an interesting tile. Yeah, we're going to... right, that's where we're going to be going to try and harvest that as we expand our city. It's going to be a couple of tiles before we can do that, but we're going to work towards it. We have not yet met the minor faction associated with our zone, but we will pretty soon, I imagine. Next, research. So this is one of the things you start when you begin the game. Just sit down and do your research. Research is divided into eras, and once we have unlocked 9 technologies from this era, we will then pass to the next era and can research from this. We can always go back and research old ones. One of the interesting things about the game is that the primary method by which the technologies become more expensive is that each subsequent one costs more. Regardless of whether it's a level 1, 2, 3, there are 6 different eras. Yes, 6. And so we are encouraged to be kind of minimalist in how we approach our research. There are some technologies that are faction unique. These show up with the orange icon. For our faction, the Ardent Mages, these are going to be primarily related to our pillars and our spell casting. I think that's a mechanic I would like to play with, so we're going to tend to prioritize those. I'm going to lay out an initial research plan using technologies that I think are pretty valuable. Our spellcasting uses dust heavily. Within the lore of the setting, dust is, I think, sort of nanomachines that are used technologically in a game like Endless Space and are used more like magic in a fantasy-styled game like Endless Legend. We have a lot of use for dust, so I'd really like to have access to this mint. In addition, Tier 1 technologies that are going to be very useful are going to be ones that unlock resources for us. Both the luxury resources with the open pit mine, as well as the metal resources that are used for things like upgrading units. I think we're probably going to do the furnace a little later. I would like to gain access to the zealot very quickly, so I'll queue that one highly. And then the language square is useful because it allows us to parlay, which it opens up certain interactions with minor villages. Sewer system is good because it is one of the few ways to increase happiness of a city, so I would like to research that. I want to have this, and then I'm kind of torn about what I want to do. We're a research-driven faction, so I would really like to be able to pick up some of these research boosters, but we already have 2 technologies on this tier, and that means we have 7 before we get forced to the next one. I really think I would like to be able to unlock heroes as well, but which of these is going to be better? 10 research or 2 for each terrain with science? I think actually this... I'm torn. I'm very deeply torn. I think this one might actually be better, so we're going to queue this, but I'm not sure on that. If I were going to be kind of lackadaisical, I would actually just get both of these, but we'll see how things look. I've queued up the first couple, and we have the option of adjusting later. So the last thing for this first turn, we've done our movement, we've done our research, and we've done our production, so we should be good to end the turn. And this is our faction quest. Slain, my brother Verda Abaz, High Sun Seeker of the mighty Al-Rubit clan, is slain, struck down by unseen hands. And the cushion plumpers? The soft-bellied priests and commanders who buzz around the Sashayant like flies around dung. They whisper in his ear that my hand played a part in his death. Thus I, Zor Abaz, had no chance but to flee. What dark magics my brother entwined himself with that I do not know, but what I know is that his loyalty to our people, his loyalty to our gods, was beyond reproach. That whatever path he had set himself upon was one for the glory and protection of our people. I swear as the stars are my witness, I will find the perpetrator and inflict on them the ultimate penance. And more than this, I will discover my brother's quest. His work will not die. We will stand united, the fiery branches lashing our bare backs, and revel in the ecstasy. Who will join me? Try to bring our brother's followers, together our followers and the faithful after the event of our brother's death. We need to parlay with villages to gain more information about our brother's death. So we want to get the parlaying with villages is tech dependent, so in order to progress with this technology, we're going to need to have the technology to parlay. So I think we're just going to undo all these things I clicked on before and prioritize this language one to progress this quest. This quest offers a bunch of actually pretty powerful benefits, and it's interesting. Part of the story, it's kind of the RPG elements. So I'm going to stick with that. And then we are going to explore a temple. The option is to search. And we have found nothing of interest. So, kind of a blank there. I think we're going to go over to here in order to explore this temple and explore out here. I'm sort of interested in finding the minor faction for our zone. And explore again. And this time we find 30 dust, 30 gold. We had 50 to begin with, and this has now increased us up to 98. So that's good. And we've found another minor faction, the Eresis. Multi-headed hydras with hands with claws capable of manipulating tools but fight with their fearsome jaws. This is outside of our zone of control and is actually in an adjoining territory that looks like it already belongs to somebody. Huh. Okay. Well. So the minor faction for our zone must be up here, so we're going to head that direction. We're almost done with the language square. 2 more turns. and we have our hero has increased in level. So as part of the game, each hero has a experience tree that we can increase. I think I would like this hero to specialize in... I sort of like having the hero wander around with my army early on. They can also serve as governors. So I will prioritize upgrades that are going to help with that. We have a line on here that... So we have this ability that will increase the attack of our units, increase the attack value on our hero. These are ones that look like they that help with cities. We can increase defense on our units, increase initiative on our units, and the life of our units. I think this is actually a pretty powerful ability. So I think we're going to map a plan that goes up this route. This one also increases the attack on units, so that seems useful. So yeah, we're going to start by increasing the defense of our units. Okay. And then we have finished the language square research. Nice. And we are then going to research the Mint, the project we were working on before. As a last... Okay. I think that this is a good place to stop, and I hope you'll join me again as we continue playing Endless Legend.